Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst, Emmanuel Ifeni.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Birthday girl. Good morning, Victoria Tundu MK Abiola on a special day. It's your day. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Ifeni.
Emmanuel Ifeni, I don't want to hear that you don't participate in birthdays implications. This one, you'll make an exception.
Anyway, when
you will take bullet.
Anyway, when you are beautiful, you're successful, and you are 45 today.
I am 45 years blessed.
Yes.
Oluwaseun.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Ruben, there are implications.
Yes.
As you
And you'll be
usually
part
say.
of the implications.
Now let's start the review with this day in Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, APC leaders in search of consensus candidate at convention to unite party. Buhari allegedly in agreement with decision. Mustafa Buhari Al-Makura top list. Party to grant waiver to intending defectors, including Jonathan. That's Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, former boss of Reuben Abati. Now, you've dilated on that a lot this morning. Should Goodluck Jonathan, be lured into the APC to run as their consensus candidate? Well, if you sign the law, the electoral amendment bill into law as in its current form, it means you will have to get the agreement of all aspirants if you want to adopt Goodluck Jonathan as APC candidate, because that's what that law says. You have to get the endorsement of all who are aspiring to that position on the APC ticket. But should he? Well, it's still in the realm of speculation. One would have expected that Ruben would give us an exclusive, but I said, no exclusive on that. But should Jonathan move to another party after all he accomplished under the platform, under the auspices of the PDP to become the president of this country? Well, those who are pushing for that, certainly they are not altruistic in their motive, because that push is coming from the north, and a Jonathan presidency will mean after 4 years, you talk about power moving back to the north. But again, from the Niger Delta, you may say, perhaps this is the time for Jonathan to complete what, in quotes, will be called our own turn. But again, all still in the realm of speculation. But we'll just wait. As they say, 24 hours is a long time in politics. But the chairmanship of APC is up for grabs. And the convention, make or mark convention. So the party is considering a consensus candidate so that by the time the convention ends, the party will be united, unlike what we see in the various states now, where you have various factions. In many states, they don't call it factions. They call it various tendencies within the APC. But we'll see how it pans out. But the front runners, Bawa Buhari, former Minister of State for Mines and Power from Niger State. Of course, there's Saliu Mustafa from Kwara State, who has the backing of his governor. And of course, there's Tanko Al-Makura, very savvy, articulate, former governor of Nasarawa State. So these three guys are the front runners, but the President Muhammadu Buhari, is very much in consonance with the idea of a consensus candidate to emerge at the convention. Now, above the masthead of this day, Malami prima facie case now established against Kyari may be extradited to the U.S. Says sponsors of terrorism to be arraigned in court in weeks, rubbishes Transparency International report on Nigeria. Yes, Abakari and his hush puppy connection. Well, there's a prima facie case, according to the Minister of Justice. And if eventually he's extradited, at least he will have his day in court to prove his innocence. Otherwise, he will do the time. But again, like Reuben and Tundu echoed, he is presumed innocent until he is tried and proven guilty in a court of law. Now, the Guardian newspaper, fuel scarcity, panic buying in Lagos as NATO threatens strike. Artificial scarcity caused by recall of dirty petrol. Source claim, NATO to withdraw haulage services over diesel price, operation cost. Now, this is a new one for many Nigerians to wake up over the weekend to discover that there is what looks like panic buying, causing traffic in Lagos, especially in the island. But again, adulterated fuel found its way into the market. I think we should also get to the roots of that. NMPC should also get those who brought in, who they gave contract and brought adulterated fuel into the country. What will happen to those whose vehicles have been damaged by this adulterated fuel? Well, I think we should start seeing people taking action, suing the sole importer of fuel in Nigeria, PMS, so that perhaps next time people will be more careful when they are bringing in product for the consumption of Nigerians. In this case, PMS, also known as petrol. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, IMF asks Nigeria to increase VAT, improve tax compliance, emphasizes need for reforms in fiscal exchange rate, others for growth. Now, the Leadership newspaper, 7-day ultimatum by CSOs expires. PMB yet to sign electoral bill. IPAC stakeholders express concern over delayed presidential assent. Mr. President has no excuse this time. I just got a copy of the bill, says Malami. Well, whatever they have to do, I think they should expedite action. We don't want the kind of situation where the president waited till the last day to make his view known to Nigerians on why he was not going to sign the electoral amendment bill in December. I think that wasn't good enough. Those of us who believe that he had good intention in rejecting, in not assenting, well, this time around, we are all waiting, we are watching, and we want the president to do the needful because we need this bill to be signed into law. So many good aspects of the bill that will enhance the electoral process. So, Mr. President, we're waiting for you. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, why 104 more ISWAP fighters surrendered? Terrorists likely behind Okene police station attack. Abductors of Kaduna Catholic priest demand 60 million. That should be 60 million naira. Then below the photograph, on front page of the Daily Trust, 2023, expect enormous challenges. Sanusi tells presidential aspirants. Nigerian politicians put the cart before the horse. Carry. Wike meets Makarafi, rules out zoning in PDP. Now, if we just look at the Vanguard newspaper, the lead story, nation's mood will decide our presidential candidate, says PDP source, adds, not only ruled for 2 years during PDP's reign, zoning is a knotty issue. We will cross the river when we get to the bridge, PDP leader. Confirmation of Gumuz as INEC commissioner, coup against democracy, PDP, where PDP is still undecided over the issue of zoning, but It's like their indecision looks like a decision. But let's just move on to the Punch newspaper. Portal breakdown. NIMC. Telcos meet again. Chinese Nigerians battle for. Subscribers remain stranded. NIN verification problem affecting other agencies. Downtime enters 7th day. Chinese India manufacturers join Galaxy Backbone in marathon repair sessions. JAMB rules out postponement of 2022 UTME registration deadline amidst hitches. Well, that problem is still lingering. There are all hands seem to be on deck to solve that problem. So we'll just wait for that problem to be solved. Now, the Business Day newspaper, top risk for Nigerian banks in 2022. According to the Business Day, low interest rate, higher effective tax rate, and competition from telcos and fintechs are some of the top risks Nigerian banks are likely to face in 2022. This is according to Renaissance Capital report, a report prepared by Renaissance Capital. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. The Times of UK. Britain will not flinch over Ukraine, says Prime Minister. Defiant message to Putin as Marine and Typhoon jets prepare for deployment. Yes, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of UK, is warning President Vladimir Putin of Russia that invading Ukraine will only strengthen NATO as he prepares to deploy Royal Marines, RAF Typhoon, and Royal Navy warships are heading for Eastern Europe. Of course, the Prime Minister was writing in the Times today that when he said Britain will not flinch and that its support to Europe and NATO will remain unconditional and immovable. 350 Royal Marines already in Poland and warships being prepared also to move to Eastern Europe. Of course, diplomacy is still the option on the table. Shuttle diplomacy. Emmanuel Macron in Russia, and of course, the German Chancellor in the US.
Olaf Scholz.
Let's hope diplomacy will carry the day and there will be no shootout war in Europe. Ruben and Tundu.
We certainly hope so. I do really sincerely hope so. Although now the saber rattling is even more intense with President Biden saying American citizens should leave Ukraine. That can only mean one thing, that diplomacy is not working so far. I hope it does. But I have to say, I blame the West. What are you thinking? Antagonizing Russia in this manner. They cannot stand it. Really. They've had their own policy. Imagine if Russia was now approaching, I don't know, countries in Latin America, saying, no, let's all get together and form an alliance. They would not be able to tolerate it. And you know, Russia, Vladimir Putin has these romantic ideas about the Soviet Union and how for him was the darkest thing in history when it was dismantled. He sees the Ukrainians as one people with Russia. A lot of Russians do. So I just think it's unnecessary antagonism at this point. We don't need it. And they all have nukes. It's really worrying if it does. No, I'm really worried. This is taking me back to the 80s. I hope you know I was anxious throughout the 80s in my childhood because my sister showed me on the globe. She was like, that's America, that's USSR, and they have nukes. That's Africa in the middle. We're all going to die. So I'm now thinking of that again. It's really very worrying. I do hope they're able to de-escalate. I don't know what they were thinking, being so, provocative, the West.
Well, what does Vladimir Putin, what does he want, and how far does he think he can go? He doesn't want Ukraine to be given the opportunity to join
NATO.
Of course that would mean some weapons at his back here.
Yes.
And he's using to leverage, politically, the fact that, Russia supplies most of the energy requirements of Europe.
Yeah, gas.
But the European Union is already considering that. Front page of Financial Times yesterday. The EU Commission is now saying, what can we do for our people, so that Russia does not impose, by using gas as leverage, more hardship on already suffering households in Europe. Now, last Friday, Russia began to look in the direction of China and met with Vladimir Putin, met with President Xi Jinping. But the question is, how much help can Russia get from China? Because China itself is also in a very vulnerable situation. And when we had the Crimea case and sanctions were imposed on Russia, how much help did China provide? Okay, so it's Russia that needs China. China does not really need Russia, so there's that imbalance. But as to the point raised by Tundu about all of them having nukes and all of that, I think, you know, as members of this global human community, who may also be affected adversely by any kind of tension in that axis, I think we can only ask that reason should prevail. President Biden has said, Russia may invade Ukraine in a matter of days. It may well not happen. President Macron of France is already engaging with Putin. You know, Britain is hemming and hawing, and because everyone will be affected. We hope that at the end of the day, there will be that balance and reason will prevail. But Russia has a reputation for operating outside the framework of the international rules-based system, whether it's with regard to its alliances or with regard to Putin's own political preferences. That's one. Two, on the question of APC leaders, front page of this day, yes, I commented on that at length earlier, but someone drew my attention to the fourth alteration number 16, 2017 of the 1999 Constitution, where in section 137 thereof and section 182, the alteration indicated that if you have been governor or president previously or vice president previously and you completed the term of your principal for one reason or the other, then you will not be eligible to run for elective office at that level again. And the article that was sent to me was saying, be reminded of these, provisions, alteration to the 1999 Constitution. So what it means, I've not had time to look at it because we're on this program, is that if President Jonathan is brought forward as a candidate for any reason whatsoever on whatever platform, you could see that there will be persons who will go to court, okay, and say, there's this fourth alteration, number 16 of 2017. But I addressed all those other issues about his membership of the PDP, the leadership position, his historic example, and all of that. But at the end of the day, I said, it's early days yet. 24 hours is a long time in politics. Finally, on the issue of fuel scarcity. Well, earlier on, yes, we commented on that, but I think also we should note that is there a case of negligence that we're dealing with? We need to amplify that.
Yeah.
Because there is a midstream and downstream regulatory authority. That midstream and downstream regulatory authority inherited the functions and the powers of both the Department of Petroleum Regulation and also the Petroleum Pricing and Products Regulatory Agency, the PPPRA. Now, that authority also inherited those laboratories that were used by the DPR to test, imported petrol. Now, we're being told now that petrol, 100 million liters of petrol with very high sulfur content made it into the market. And then the authorities now said, okay, the marketers should not sell. Why should those products get into the market at all?
In the first place, yeah.
If there was no negligence.
Someone dropped the ball.
Yeah, so somebody failed to do his job, and I hope that will be investigated. Although the other question that I raised was a question we raised with Tony Akinsho yesterday. That if the PIA, Petroleum Industry Act, has been suspended, is it that the midstream and downstream regulatory authority has also been suspended? What happens to all those agencies, created under that particular
if you say the act
piece
has been suspended, it has been suspended.
All of it.
Yeah, so
then it will affect everything about the act.
And that was why I told
you cannot
Rotus,
suspend the act in parts.
Yeah, that's why I told Rotus that there are contradictions involved. Finally, on the issue of the story, one front page story you took, and you said some CSOs were urging the president, gave the
Yes.
president
An ultimatum.
ultimatum to sign the re-amended
That's
electoral bill.
the leadership newspaper.
Yes,
That's the leadership
within
newspaper.
7 days, you said,
Yes.
I think. Okay, no, the making of laws is a constitutional function. Section 4 of the Constitution gives the National Assembly the powers to make laws. The mode of making laws is defined in sections 58 and section 59. Section 58, subsection 5, states further, what happens in the event that the president refuses to give his assent. He has 30 days. So the dilemma
Not
that we
7
face,
days.
No, 7 days, that's from the CSOs,
Yeah.
The
Civil
CSOs.
Society Organization.
Yeah.
The law does not say 7 days.
No,
does it say so?
No, it's their
It
own
says-
way,
it
it's their own way of putting pressure on the
So
president.
the president has 30 days. So if after the 30 days he still does not sign, then we go back to section 58, subsection 5. Will this National Assembly have the courage to veto the president if he withholds his assent?
Ruben,
again?
what we're also saying here is that the president should not wait till the last day,
Like it did the last
like he did the last time, to tell us that for this reason I'm not going to sign. Look, time is of the essence. We cannot just be going back and forth. We cannot reduce lawmaking or national affairs to the pace of the president. The president must also expedite action on this matter. And those who are supposed to help him to do this, like the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, should also know that time is of the essence. The whole nation is waiting for this bill to be signed into law. INEC is waiting for this bill to be signed into law so that they know what they are preparing for and what they cannot prepare for. So I think this 7-day ultimatum is just their own way of putting pressure on the president to do the
I want to
needful.
go back to Ukraine. How could I forget the Soviet missile crisis in the JFK years?
Yes.
If you cannot take it, do not dish it. America lost their minds because the Soviet Union was coming into Cuba. They have, yes.
the missile crisis,
Yes. And the whole world was almost annihilated as a result. I don't know. Sometimes I do scratch my head about President Obama's foreign policy. I love Obama in many ways, but I'm sorry. What was that? Why would you invite Ukraine and Georgia and say you want them in NATO? I mean, this is all, as far as I'm concerned, America's making. They even have the Monroe Doctrine. You cannot tolerate what you are trying to do to Russia. You can't.
Well, nobody has ever said that there's equity in international relations. Every
guess.
country will look out for their own interests, and that's why there's diplomacy.
But also the fact that Russia was able to move into Crimea and just change the borderline, like that, also tells you that.
And even at that time, the sanctions didn't quite.
Yeah,
work.
the
What is the
sanctions-
guarantee
Because
that the
Putin has
sanctions
something
will
in
work
his
out?
mind. He wants to go back to the halcyon days of the Soviet Union.
Well,
seems
he's
a
just
bit
being
obsessed with
nationalistic
it.
about the Russian nation.
But Russians are really
Yes.
nationalistic people. They
Yeah.
are in support of their president and what he's doing in Ukraine. They're in support of what he did in Crimea. I think, actually, second to the Chinese, Russians are probably the most nationalistic nation. Whatever their leadership does is perfect as far as they're concerned.
Well, is it not because there's no room for
Democracy.
Dissent,
venting
yes.
your opposition?
They told the line perfectly.
You know what it means to
Well,
oppose,
to
to
go
oppose
back-
Putin.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go back to this story.
We've
from,
seen the poison at...
Malami.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Earlier on, I also commented on it, but I didn't deal with the part about the Attorney General's response to Transparency International. And I guess, yes, his powers are defined with regard to the Abba Kyari case under Section 174 and Section 211 of the Constitution. We used to joke that the Attorney General of the Federation is the only minister appointed by the president that is expressly, recognized in the Constitution of Nigeria. But, I already talked at length about that. But he was responding to Transparency International. And I think it's bona fide in that regard will be that the Attorney General of the Federation is the supervising minister of the anti-corruption agency. Yeah, but he says, if you look at the number of convictions that we have had in Nigeria from EFCC and ICPC, that Transparency International is holding the weekend of the wicked in trying to accuse Nigeria of not doing enough, and Nigeria dropping in the corruption index terms of the
Corruption Perception
corruption
Index.
perception index.
Underline the word
That
That is the
perception.
issue because it's a matter of perception.
But have you changed the perception with those your convictions?
Well, questions have also been raised about the methodology adopted by some of these international groups, although Transparency International has partners in Nigeria. So how do you really measure this perception? That for me, and also I guess for Malame and others, is a big question. But the Nigerian government just has this attitude that anything that is critical of the government, whether it's coming from Financial Times or it's coming from Transparency International or Human Rights Watch or Amnesty International, there's this default, position just to reject it and not listen at all. And I think that, government officials need to be a little bit more attentive and interrogate some of those observations. Because many of these international organizations, yes, they may be international organizations, but they have partners in Nigeria. So it's not just outsiders talking to Nigeria, it's really actually Nigerians associated with those international organizations talking to Nigeria and government and using that established international platform. So this attitude of dismissing everything, almost automatically, I think is not helpful.
But the government must defend itself. For those of you who have been spokespersons for government, this is how you do the job.
No, but in my time, it was not everything I reacted
No, not
to.
everything, but the first reaction when government is being called out in this manner is to defend yourself. And perhaps the first best form of defense is attack. You attack I think that's what is happening. But again, doesn't make it right.
Okay.
You have to look at what...
I see in that statement, you are preparing to be an attack dog in the future. I hope somebody listens to you and offers you the job.
No, like Okupe will say, I'd rather be an attack lion.
I remember that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you again tomorrow morning.